afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're joining from. And welcome to the Power Hour Wellbeing, brought to you by Inspiring Workplaces Group and the Positive Foundry. I'm Matt Manners, CEO and founder of the Inspiring Workplaces Group, for those that don't know. And over the next hour, you'll hear from three exceptional thought leaders, each bringing their unique experience and proven frameworks for managing stress, preventing burnout, and building mental fitness. Whether you're a leader, a team member, or simply keen to build resilience in your organization, you'll leave with actionable ideas you can apply right away. Whether you're joining from London, New York, San Francisco, or anywhere in between, thank you for prioritizing well-being today. We'll wrap up with a live Q&A session, hopefully about 10 to 15 minutes at the end, where you'll have the chance to ask our speakers your most pressing questions before we close at around 5 o'clock UK time. So let's dive into an hour of insight, inspiration, and actionable strategies and make well-being truly work for us. For a quick personal note from me, before we dive in, as you can hear, I should probably confess that I'm not exactly the poster child for well-being today. I'm telling you this because if I look or sound a little less sparkly than usual, you'll know why, and I'd rather front up than pretend otherwise. I think that's always really important in work and in life. So in true do as I say, not as I do fashion, I've just been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, which means essentially my immune system has decided I am the enemy. And just to make things interesting, before I could go get the vaccine, I've now got shingles too. So if anyone needed proof that stress can catch up with you, here I am. But I didn't want to cancel because this topic really matters to us at Inspiring Workplaces and myself. Plus, I thought it would be fitting to literally embody the theme of the day. Consider me your real-life case study in why self-care isn't optional. Don't worry, though, as soon as this power hour wraps up, I will be practicing what we preach and heading straight to bed for a 2-day well-being retreat, otherwise known as sleep. So let's meet our first speaker, Lisa Hammett. Lisa is a certified positive intelligence PQ coach, a transformational keynote speaker, and author of the international bestseller From Burnout to Best Life. With over 26 years in the corporate retail sector, Lisa knows firsthand the toll that chronic stress and high-pressure environments take on individuals. Her session, Managing Stress and Preventing Burnout with Mental Fitness Techniques, will give you insight into how negative thought patterns influence behavior and equip you with mental fitness tools to boost productivity, communication, and well-being. Hello, and welcome to Lisa.
Thank you so much, Matt. And I'm so sorry you're under the weather today.
No, it's absolutely no worries at all. I just didn't want to look potentially awful and people go, what's going on? so anyway, as I said in the green room, people are here to listen to you, not me. So I'm going to hand it over to you and speak to you soon.
Thank you. Could you put up my slides for me, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, I'm Lisa Hammett, and I'm just thrilled to be here to talk about managing stress and preventing burnout with mental fitness. And I'm going to go through a lot of material very quickly for sake of time. So if you do have any questions, please save them for the end of the presentation when we have our panel. So what is mental fitness? So it's our capacity to respond to life's challenges with a positive versus negative mindset. And when we are mentally fit, we have peak performance, we are highly productive, we have greater peace of mind and well-being, and we have healthier relationships because we have improved communication. Now, to really understand how mental fitness works, we have to understand how our brains work. And we have two sides of our brain. We have the left analytical side, which is designed for problem solving, one task at a time. And when we get into trouble is when we try to multitask. Any multitaskers out there? I'm sure there are many, and that can generate a lot of stress and anxiety. And those are just some of the negative emotions we experience on a daily basis. There's also anger, shame, blame, just to name a few. And these all bubble up from the left side of our brain, and most of them actually come from our subconscious, so we're not even aware that we're having them. Now, we have over 70,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of those are negative. So it's a wonder that we can have a positive thought some days. Now, all of those negative emotions that I shared earlier, Those in the positive intelligence space where mental fitness originated are attached to what we call saboteur traits. And there are 10 of them, and we're going to go through them very quickly. But I want to quickly talk about the right side of our brain, which is our sage brain. And this is where we need to be operating most of the time. Have you ever had one of those days where everything is just going amazing? You wake up, you're energized, the conversations that you're having with others are engaging, you're highly productive, you're just in a great space. Well, that is you operating from the right side of your brain, or I like to call your zone of genius. And that's where we need to be most of the time. Unfortunately, these saboteurs can get in the way. So let's talk quickly about them. So, overseeing all of the saboteurs is the judge. And the judge can judge in three ways. They'll judge us with those self deprecating thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I could never do that. The judge will also judge others with thoughts like, we judge people basically, and we don't like to say we do it, but we do it. We don't often vocalize. And then also the judge will judge situations. So if we walk into a stressful environment, the judge will say, oh, this is bad. It couldn't possibly get any worse. And that just adds fuel to the fire. So that's the judge. Now, the 9 saboteurs work in conjunction with the judge. And as I'm going through these, I want you to make a mental note of the ones that resonate with you. And it's important to have awareness of this because when I talk about the actual mental fitness tips, you're going to understand why this is important. So the controller is basically somebody like a micromanager who has this anxiety-based need to exercise control. And then we have the hyperachiever, which is somebody who's very motivated by goals and productivity. Unfortunately, their self-esteem sometimes is caught up in how productive they are, and they don't recognize when they're successful. The restless is somebody who has their hands in a lot of different things, kind of the multitasker on steroids. They thrive in new environments and excitement, but when things become mundane, they're out. And then there's the stickler, which is the wannabe perfectionist. And this is somebody who has great attention to detail, but unfortunately can hold themselves to unrealistic perfectionistic standards as well as holding others to those standards. And then we have the pleaser that wants to make others happy, but the pleaser spends more time focusing on others' needs than their own. So they're often depleted and sometimes they can get resentful. And then we have the hypervigilant, which is somebody who is always anxious that something bad is going to happen. And they can actually make others nervous too. When you're around somebody who's always anxious all the time, that can really activate your saboteurs. And that's how we can impact the behavior of others. And then we have the avoider, and the avoider, like the pleaser, likes to make everyone happy, dislikes toxicity, but avoids difficult conversations, tasks that make them uncomfortable, as well as environments that put them outside of their comfort zone. And we can't avoid these things in life because, one, we could have a blow up situation if we avoid a difficult conversation. And we also don't learn and grow when we don't put ourselves out there. And then we have the victim that has this need to make others feel emotional and temperamental as a way of getting attention. That mindset of, oh, woe is me, my life stinks, everything bad that can happen happens to me. And then we have the hyper rational, which is very data driven, very left brain dominant, highly intelligent, but struggles with empathy. So these are the saboteur traits. And again, I want you to think about these because these will activate those negative emotions and prevent you from living a happy, healthy, fulfilled life. So I want to know, is pain good for you? Is pain good for you? And here's the thing about pain, it's a negative emotion. And when you're in that negative emotion for more than 1 to 2 seconds, it's the equivalent of putting your hand on the burner of a hot stove and letting it fry, which you certainly would not do. Now, staying in negative emotions hurts your ability to see clearly and respond with empathy, curiosity, creativity, and laser focused action. Now, here are the mental fitness tips that I'm sure you've been curious about. Okay, so I have these negative emotions. I understand where they're coming from. How do I deactivate them? So, when you're feeling stressed or anxious or have any kind of negative emotion, you can mitigate those by doing what we call 10 to 15 second PQ reps. And in essence, they're micro meditations that engage the senses. So it could be something that you see. So I want you to look at something in front of you, and I want you to be laser focused on what that object is, even if you've seen it a million times before. And I want you to notice tiny details, shapes, colors, textures, maybe a reflection in the surface, and really zero in on it. So that's one way that you can do a micro meditation. Another is sound. And I love this. When I go for a walk, for example, I will focus on all the different sounds that I can hear. And it's kind of a game. How many sounds can I hear? And this is a great way also to mitigate stress and other negative emotions. Touching something, I like to rub two fingertips together, like your thumb and forefinger, and notice that the sensations of your fingertips, are they dry? Are they smooth? What's the temperature? And noticing the fingertip ridges. And you might be thinking, well, these just seem kind of weird. But the thing is, they take the focus off the negative emotion, and they're things that you can do anywhere. You know, if you're having a confrontational discussion with somebody and you're being triggered, instead of blurting out a response to quiet those negative emotions, you could focus on something on their face. If they're wearing glasses, notice the color and shape of the frames, or the color and shape of the iris of their eyes, or look at their nose. That's another thing. And then there's the breath. And when you're really triggered, the breath can self regulate the central nervous system. You know, our body goes into this fight or flight response when we feel that we are in perceived danger. And our brain cannot discern between real danger or manufactured danger, which comes from stress, anxiety, etc. And the best thing that you can do when you're really, really activated is start to take slow, deep breaths. Force yourself to slow down the breath. And what this does is it lowers the heart rate, because that's one of the things that escalates immediately when we go into fight or flight response. And as we are doing this, then that can help reset the central nervous system. So as you inhale, notice the temperature of the air as it enters your nose. And then as you slowly exhale, notice the change in temperature of the air. So these are just some of the things that you can do in 10 to 15 second increments. Now, the key about doing PQ reps also is to make habits of these by incorporating them with things that you already do. So when you get up in the morning, if you want to start the day with a positive mental charge, maybe notice how your feet feel on the floor as you're walking across the floor, walking to the bathroom or going to grab a cup of tea or coffee. When you're washing your hands, notice the sensation of how your hands feel as you're, washing them, rubbing the soap, or as you're drying them. And then when you're making your cup of tea or coffee, now notice the different sounds, notice the aroma when, you're about to take a sip, notice the flavor profiles, and notice the warmth as you're slowly swallowing. So that is just something that you can do too. And again, throughout the day, as I had mentioned before, I love listening to different sounds and just kind of zoning out for a moment, shutting my eyes and focusing on all the different sounds that I can hear. And you'd be surprised at how many sounds there are. So one last quick thing is, if you struggle with sleep, here is a great thing that you can do to help you go back to sleep. So I want you to imagine that you're in bed and you're trying to get back to sleep or go to sleep. And I want you to imagine a big red stop sign. And imagine it as that stop sign that you'd see at a faraway stop. Sometimes they have blinking lights. And I want you to say firmly to yourself, stop, stop, stop. So what you're doing is you're intercepting that mind chatter so that you can calm your brain and go back to sleep. And then when you then finish that, I want you to focus on the breath. And as you inhale slowly, I want you to think of the word so. And as you exhale slowly, I want you to think of the word hum. So it's so, hum, so, hum. Now, if you're noticing that your brain is starting to wander again, say firmly to yourself, stop, stop, stop. and then go back to resuming the so and the hum. So the stop, stop, stop is a thought disruptor, and that stops the mind chatter. And then the so and the hum is actually the sound that your lungs make in your deepest restorative sleep. We call that deep delta sleep. And you're actually preparing yourself for deep restorative sleep. So that is it for me.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm learning so much about left brain, right brain at the minute. So, and that just goes in even deeper. So many questions. I'm going to keep them to the end, and we will move on to our next speaker. So thank you so much for all that information, Lisa.
Thank you.
Speak to you shortly.
Okay.
Right, so moving on, so we can have a nice conversation at the end. We have our next storyteller, Janice Litvin. And do you feel overwhelmed with just too much to do? Do you sometimes take things too personally? If you answered yes to either of those questions, then you're in the right place. Janice Litvin is the founder of the Banished Burnout Academy. She is on a mission to help leaders and teams banish burnout and retain talent. She does this through keynotes, workshops, and coaching groups. She is the author of Banished Burnout Toolkit, is a recertification provider for SHRM, and is past president of the National Speakers Association of Northern California. As a technology recruiter for 20 years, plus a corporate techie for 12, Janice heard many stories of burnout firsthand. When she is not speaking, she leads Zumba fitness classes for fun. We are so happy to welcome Janice. Welcome speaker, coach, and speed limit violator, no less, Janice Litvin. Welcome, Janice. How are you?
Thank you so much, Matt. I'm delightful, and I want to I appreciate everything you're doing and your team behind you, Amy, and everyone else. It's Marta and everyone else that's been with us in this process.
Thank you so much. Well, over to you, and I'll see you shortly.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I want to say that everything that Lisa said is related to everything I'm going to say, but in a different way. So what Lisa was talking about, from the way I interpret it, was building awareness for your thoughts. And that is step one of my process. So I very much appreciate the learning all about mental fitness. So through my work with burnout, I have found that there are two main causes of overstress and burnout. Number one could be the way we react from the inside out, which is very much related to Lisa's work in mental fitness. And the other can come from our environment around us, the things we react to, whether it's politics or stress at work. But either way, a lot of us tend to go very negative, as Lisa indicated, and we become overly stressed and overly burned out. And that was me for 10 years or 12 years in corporate America, working in a bank IT department when I first graduated from college, or as you say in London, uni. But eventually I learned that I had to find my own work-life balance. And now I'm here helping others. And for the next 10 or 12 minutes, we're going to have fun while we learn. So did you know that 66% of American workers were complaining about burnout as early as 2018? And then in 2021, that number jumped to 79%. So 4/5 of American workers were feeling burned out. And then what happens when people get extremely burned out? They quit their jobs because they don't want to be in a hyper stress situation 24/7. And then what happens to the workplace? There's a big hole in the productivity, and you probably know that it costs 50 to 200% to replace 50 to 200% of salary to replace anyone that's left. And on top of that, the workers left behind often have to pick up the slack. So what that adds up to is we are in a burnout crisis. We are in a burnout crisis. So just imagine if we could reduce those trends instead of watching them continue to increase. Well, you don't have to imagine it, because today I'm going to show you how to do that with one of my tools from my Banished Burnout Toolkit, just like I've done for SHRM, American Bankers Association, Wellness Council of Wichita, and many other groups. Now, I know workplace stress is not something simple like long lines or reacting to somebody in your family that's annoying to you. I know that workplace stress can be relentless and debilitating. And I know you're trying to do your best work, worrying about with keeping up with all of your responsibilities, incorporating all the changes that are happening, and worrying about AI like we all are. I mean, stress is all around us. And the problem is we take it all in, but we don't have a way to get it all out. And so we erupt into the big B, burnout. Now, we can't stop all these things from happening around us, but what we can do is we can build our mental fitness, like Lisa was talking about, and change the way we choose to react to stress from the inside out. And everything is documented in my book, Banish Burnout Toolkit, which I brought a copy to show you. And I will be giving away at the end of my presentation. So there are 6 tools in the toolkit. In my keynotes, I talk about 3 of the key tools. Today, I decided to choose one that's very powerful and everyone asks me about, and that is setting healthy boundaries. So have you ever said yes to someone, to a request in your friendship world, and then wish you had said no? Like, oh, why did I say yes to helping my neighbor at 7 in the morning on Saturday when I'd rather be sleeping in? And then how do you backtrack it? Well, I grew up down in Texas where my daddy was a meat packer, and he was the kind of man that always was available to help a friend. He taught us that if someone asks for help, they must need help. And if they're a friend, that's our duty as a good friend. And that role modeling had a huge impact on me. So I thought that I should always say yes when someone asks for help. But as I grew up and got older, and this took me till probably my early 30s, I realized that some people would make unreasonable demands. And I had to learn how to set boundaries. And this impacted me everywhere I went, whether it was in my personal life or my work life. And I'll never forget the time a friend asked me to pick her up at the airport at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday night. And I said, sure, I'd love to pick you up, but not at 1 o'clock in the morning. I have to be at work at 8. I'll be destroyed. I won't be able to function. I'll have no mental acuity if I pick you up at 1. So I'm sorry, I can't do it. And this friend started screaming and yelling. If you were a good friend, you would say, yes, I can't believe you're saying no to me. You know, I thought we were good friends. And I learned a lot from that experience, which is if somebody is screaming and yelling at you because you said no, that might not be the friend that you want in your life, or maybe they need to learn more about mental fitness. And so I also learned that there are other ways to ask for help, and there are ways to say no, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. And when negotiating a deadline at work, are you or any commitment, are you a people pleaser? Do you say yes at work because you think you should, and then you go home and complain? Well, let me give you a few examples of how I help people learn how to say no. Someone asks me to do something I really don't have time to do, and this fits in with my airport example. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I wish I could, but I can't. I'm sorry. No extra talking, because when you start to explain and explain, that's when the other person suddenly becomes an ace salesperson and starts to overcome your objections, so to speak. And so some people tell me, oh, I don't even have to say sorry. I just say no. No is a complete sentence. Well, that is one way to do it. But some people feel they like to soften it a little bit by saying, I'm sorry. I wish I could, but I can't. And here's another alternative. Now, this depends on who it is and what it is. Of course, all of this has to be put in the right context. I'll check my calendar and let you know if or when this will be a fit. This is really good for people who are not super close to you, but they're kind of in your greater circle. Now, here's one for managing your time. It seems like I get interrupted all day long and cannot get my work done. Now, if you're a manager, there's one response, but if you're not a manager, there's another response. So one way to approach this is adding empty blocks of time on your calendar. And this helps managers as well, because if you know there's going to be a lot of interruptions, rather than getting angry at the person and saying, no, I can't help you, you can know that you have these blank buffer times on your calendar, maybe one a day or all on Friday, whatever, so that you won't feel like you're not getting your work done. Now, doesn't everybody know how busy we all are? Everybody, everywhere I go, every client says we're overwhelmed and we're overworked and we're so busy. So my response to that is learning how to say no without saying no, so that you don't come across as a negative Nelly. So let's take a couple of those examples. Someone from another department wants to talk to me right now. Janice, I'm working on this proposal and I have a deadline. I need your help right now. Well, maybe Janice is also working on a proposal and has her own deadlines. So Janice should say, I'd be happy to meet with you this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Unfortunately, I'm not available right now. But Janice, you don't understand. I've got this deadline. I have this big client. I'm so sorry. I'd be happy to meet with you at 3. Unfortunately, I'm not available right now. And when you keep repeating, just calmly and rationally repeating the same answer, moving their reaction from the amygdala, the fight, flight, or freeze part of the brain, to the prefrontal cortex, the executive functioning, staying calm and rational, they will go away, and often they can find someone else. Now, what if it's your own boss? My boss wants me to work on a new initiative, but I'm already overloaded and working long hours. So how do I respond to the boss? I'm excited to work on this new project. Which of my other projects do you want me to move or back burner so I can work on the new project? Some bosses are not well organized, and some of them don't know where your limits are in terms of what's happening with your project. So it's important to communicate to them, again, in as rational a way as possible. Here's another option. Yes, I'm excited about the new project. Let's get together to review all of my projects and prioritize them so we can get everything done without burning anyone out. So let's get together and prioritize all my projects so we can get them done without burning anyone out. And that's really important, again, because the boss needs to know where you are with all your projects. Now, sometimes you're in a meeting, and I don't know why, but sometimes there are rude people. I've never understood why people are so rude in meetings, but it happens, not often, depends on the workplace, of course. So someone rudely disagrees with one of your ideas to solve an important problem. Let's say there's been a crisis at work, like the Wi-Fi went down, like we had with someone this morning, and someone is being really rude about your solution. So here's a response. I'm happy to continue if we can keep it respectful. Are you open to that? I'm happy to continue if we can keep it respectful. Are you open? So again, you're staying rational and calm. Here's another way to respond to that person. I'm going to end the meeting now and resume tomorrow or later or whatever, when we can all keep cooler heads. I'm going to end the meeting. You do not have to accumulate and take rudeness. Now, if it's your own boss, that's a whole nother story. Then you might have to go to HR or sit the boss down and say, acting rudely is not very motivating. It's very hurtful. And I'd like to see how we can work it out so that we can get along really well. And so I'm going to end the meeting now and resume tomorrow when we can all keep cooler heads. So those are a few examples of setting healthy boundaries. There are many more in my book. And as I said, there are other tools that I talk about when I keynote. And to thank you for listening and to thank Matt and his team. I'm giving you a free gift of an editable or fillable PDF of my book, Banish Burnout Toolkit. Use this QR code. You'll be asked for a code when you sign in, and the code is POWER for Power Hour. And I will put this slide back up in a moment, but just to close out my thoughts. By the way, you can take a picture of this slide if you want to do this activity later. But to close out, and then I'll bring this slide back up. You are in charge of your mental health, or as Lisa puts it, your mental fitness. You have choices, you have tools, and you cannot take care of your clients, your team, or your family if you do not take care of yourself. Thank you so much for listening to me. Back to you, Matt.
Hi, Janice. I should probably have listened to your last slide there. I also hope I never elicit from my team the response, I'm happy to continue if we can keep it respectful. Are you open to that? I know I'm in trouble and I'm doing things wrong if that ever comes from one of my team. So I think amazing toolkit there. Lots to delve into afterwards. So thank you so much. And hopefully we'll be back with you and Lisa in about 15 minutes or so. So speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, wow, 2 storytellers down, lots to soak up there. And last but no means least, of the 3 storytellers today, we have Laura Cooke. Laura is co-founder and CEO of the Positive Foundry, an organization dedicated to large-scale human flourishing. She holds an MBA from the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan and training from the Institute for Positive Education down in Australia. Laura is passionate about reshaping the future of well-being in award-winning organizations, no less, through evidence-based positive psychology. In her session, she'll guide us through how to build thriving cultures of well-being, not just surviving, but flourishing. It's an honor to also say she leads our amazing Thrive Thursday sessions for the Inspiring Workplaces community. These are free, and we have 2 more in 2025 with limited space available. And we're pleased to confirm here on this event today that we'll be bringing them back again in 2026. So without further ado, hello and welcome, Laura. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Matt. It's great to see you. I did share my screen. I'm hoping that maybe Marta in the background will be able to pull it up. Oh, she is a genius. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Marta. Thank you, Amy.
I'll leave you to it.
As usual, all of you make just amazing events happen through Inspiring Workplaces. So thank you. Yes, as Matt says, I'm co-founder and CEO of Positive Foundry. I spent 15 years of my career in leadership roles in 2 different businesses and 12 years leading an independent school in Columbus, Ohio. I was trying to balance my home and work life, something I think you heard in previous presentations. I had 4 daughters in school. I thought, why not work at their school and blend my work and life? Unfortunately, it took stress-related illnesses for me to realize that my choices were in fact making me miserable. And it's actually a lot easier to be miserable and a lot harder to be happy. I discovered the science of positive psychology and I changed my life 1 habit at a time. And my purpose now is to create generational change by teaching the skills that lead to joyful, meaningful living, because science is not reaching the general population as fast as I think it could. Thankfully to those 2 speakers before me, Janice and Lisa, they're doing amazing work and very similar efforts to try to bring all of that knowledge to people. And as Matt shared, we partner with people first organizations. We want to help organizations thrive through the well-being of their people. And that's really what I want to explore today, how developing the whole person isn't just good for the individuals. It's actually the smartest business strategy that we have. So let's be honest, most professional development is about teaching people skills to do their jobs better. More rarely are programs that teach people how to live better while doing their jobs, things that we just heard. And even more rarely are how to help people behave differently or show up better to their teams. We invest millions in skills, communication, project management, leadership training, but almost nothing in the energy, mindset, and relationships that make those skills usable, especially when life gets hard. And the result is we have some of the most skilled workforces in history and some of the most exhausted. How many of you have seen incredibly talented people burn out, not because they didn't know what to do, but because they couldn't find the energy to keep doing it? And that's really the gap we have to close. Professional development builds competence, and whole person development builds capacity. And capacity is what sustains performance when things get messy, when markets shift, when teams change, or
I think we're having a slight technical issue with the Wi-Fi at Laura's end right now. So we'll give Laura 20 to 30 seconds because what she's got to offer us is amazing. So for the minute, we will see how we're going. And then if not, we might bring the Q&A a little bit further forward and do another session with Laura at another time.
Managers account for 70% of team engagement.
Hi, Laura. We lost you for a little. Hi, we lost you for a little second there. I think the Wi-Fi gremlins were at it again. So
no, I'm sorry. Do you know where it was? Do you know where it stopped?
I would say about 60 seconds ago. So not too far. Not too far. So we'll give it. I think let's keep going, and then if it happens again, maybe we go to Q&A. We'll do a separate session with you, all on your own, another time. But let's see how we're going. Okay.
All right. Back to you now. Okay. Right. So I said that's the gap we have to close. Professional development and whole person development builds capacity. And capacity is what sustains performance when things get messy, when markets shift, teams change, or leaders are tired. And 2025 Gallup State of the Workplace report on engagement shows that only 21% of employees are engaged. It's one of the steepest global declines in more than 12 years. And interestingly, manager engagement fell the most, from 30 to 27%, while individual contributors stayed flat. And the challenge with that is that managers account for 70% of team engagement. In other words, the very people that are responsible for inspiring and supporting and developing others are struggling to stay engaged themselves. And managers don't just influence engagement, they create it. When a manager feels motivated and supported, that energy multiplies. Teams are more productive, employees stay longer, and performance improves. But when a manager is burned out, disconnected, or uncertain, that energy fades and it spreads quietly, ultimately lowering morale, clarity, and trust across the team. But here's the kicker: engagement and well-being together don't just add up. They multiply outcomes by 2.5 times. Numbers like retention, customer loyalty, and profitability have exponential positive results from well-being and engagement. And behavioral science offers us proven strategies to impact well-being, engagement, and performance simultaneously. Gallup's research shows that employees who are engaged and thriving in terms of their well-being miss 70% fewer workdays and are 59% less likely to look for another job. Engagement without well-being is unsustainable. Well-being without engagement is unproductive. We need both, and they multiply, not add. Imagine if every person in a workplace showed up to work and they had a to-do list with their priorities, but they also created a to-be list right next to it with intentional thinking about how they want to behave. Words like, I want to be kind, I want to show empathy, I'm going to actively listen today. Setting up teams for positive relationships and workplaces for healthy, supportive cultures. McKinsey calls employee health one of the smartest business investments a leader can make. We've built decades of leadership programs teaching people what to do, and now we need programs that teach them how to be, especially under pressure in times of change and when the human part of work feels heavy. That's what it's all about, well-being. Deloitte's 2024 Human Capital Trends Report found that 84% of executives see employee well-being as essential to business success. and only 39% have integrated it into their strategy. And that's really the opportunity to move from offering well-being to operating it, integrating it, and embedding it into the culture. We have to support our leaders, and then we need a way to cascade it to the rest of the organization so we can support our teams in all aspects of well-being, their physical, intellectual, and emotional health. It's not about passing out a gym membership or offering a LinkedIn course. It's way more than that, and that's why it's hard. Hopefully some of you have seen this TV show. In the show Severance, they get in the elevator, and as they go up the elevator to work, their home brain is wiped. And then when they leave work and they go down the elevator, their work brain is wiped. So they actually don't bring any work home. In fact, they don't even know what they do at work. But it doesn't work like this in real life. We don't have a work self and a home self. We don't choose which one to put on. We're human beings, and we want to help each of us have the skills to succeed no matter the circumstances and to stay healthy in the process. We're managing one whole human life, and I think organizations have to catch up to that reality. I love what Lisa said about mental fitness, how to navigate burnout, the tips for being present and managing our saboteurs, and what Janice said about the ways that we can respond to different situations to prevent burnout. Both are critical, and we're so aligned in our thinking. What if the goal isn't just about helping people recover, but teaching them how to flourish before they ever hit the wall? What if we helped people start a challenge from a better place by providing opportunities for them to learn, reflect, and practice skills that lead to flourishing even before they actually need it? Research from Harvard's Human Flourishing Program shows that flourishing, the combination of happiness, health, meaning, and character, predicts long-term performance better than engagement alone. And if you think about it, when was the last time your training program actually increased someone's energy? Not just their knowledge, their energy. That's the new competitive advantage. We're not in a talent war anymore. We're in an energy war. The companies that are winning it are teaching people how to recharge, connect, and focus on purpose. We all have the same amount of time in a day, but we don't all have the same amount of energy. When we give employees skills that improve their ability to generate energy, manage their energy, and create more energy, that's the real advantage. In fact, there's a project called the Energy Project that shows that employees that renew their physical, emotional, and mental energy are 96% more productive and report 60% higher engagement. So energy, not time, is our most valuable resource. And at Positive Foundry, we call it whole person training because when individuals flourish, organizations flourish. And to operationalize well-being, we believe it's best done with a model that follows a simple science-backed process of learn, connect, and practice. We learn a well-being concept in short, digestible bursts. We connect meaningfully with others, with our team, and we practice the skill in real life to make it stick. And the cycle of Better Yet Teams repeats weekly, which creates rhythm and momentum. And the learning sticks because you're accountable to your team to show up and learn together. Unlike many of the offerings today, which encourage individuals to learn independently, which really isn't as effective. And we're really about these three things: science, healthy teams, and micro-learning. By science, we teach 12 skills based on psychology and behavioral science, such as emotional intelligence, positive relationships, optimism, and resilience, all of which have been proven to support positive teams and better business results. By healthy teams, we help your teams build trust, empathy, and authentic connection through dialogue and shared learning. And micro-learning, we use short bursts of learning that are led by your internal champions to provide the team with a concept, some motivation, sparking connection through short conversations. It's not an hour-long discussion, it's a 5-minute conversation that changes how teams see each other, delivering healthy teams. And by building this growth into the weekly rhythm, it's easy to sustain, impactful, and again, reinforced with accountability. It's easy to implement and it helps all employees learn skills that boost well-being and positivity and strengthen workplace relationships in the process. And when people learn these skills, discretionary effort soars. They don't just show up to work, They show up better. And the model really doesn't sit on the side of work. It's in the flow of work. It's in just the examples that our other speakers gave today. It's in 1-minute resets, gratitude rituals, breathing techniques, coaching check-ins, quick team reflections. It creates a common language and a new way of seeing each other that strengthens the collaboration and performance at the same time. I'll give you a quick example. One of our clients, a financial services firm, was struggling with low engagement and high turnover, and they were growing like crazy. And instead of launching a leadership workshop, they went through Better Yet Teams. They had their managers become champions, and they spent a year going through a weekly program, 20 minutes learning together and practicing these small behaviors, a mindful moment, a gratitude share, a quick energy check, a moment of reflection. And during one session, 2 leaders who hadn't been speaking openly connected in a breakout room. They realized that they'd been holding on to the same frustration and resentment. They had one conversation that broke down a silo that had existed for years. We opened a door to a conversation that changed everything. And that's just one story that came out of this group. The other results they had, engagement increased, turnover dropped. But when we asked what changed the most, they said, we started seeing each other as humans again, and our manager really cares about us. And that's really the ROI of well-being. It rebuilds humanity in the culture. And the crazy thing is, the next year after the teams went through the program, the IT organization was ranked #1 in digital workplaces by Gartner. So it was a pretty great win. So if you want to future-proof your organization, we don't just want to talk about relationships, health, and well-being. We want to build them into the workflow. Showing your people that you care, not through posters or perks, but through programs that teach them to live and lead and connect better with each other. Professional development teaches people to climb a ladder, and whole person development teaches them to stand taller while they do it. Sustainable culture doesn't come from the top down. It grows when people at every level are empowered to lead. Because when people feel better, they do better. And that's not soft, that's actually science. That's our mindset. Better teams, better leaders, better culture. It all starts with better well-being. And before I close, I have to put in one other plug for Thrive Thursdays because it's so much fun. Our next one is coming up next week. Those sessions are held on Zoom, so they're highly interactive, and there is an opportunity for a break in those sessions. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Matt. I meant to say in the beginning, I am very impressed by your resilience and showing up today despite how you feel, and I'm so grateful for you for doing that. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm an idiot, but an idiot with good intentions. So,
and I hope
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Laura. Let's bring everybody else back in. Lisa and Janice. There we go. Brilliant. Thank you so much, and thank you to all 3 of you. Absolutely amazing. I mean, we've got 12 minutes, so sadly can't ask everything, but just a quick couple of observations before a question. I mean, all 3 in some way reference this, but I will use the stat from Laura. Gallup, 70% fewer work days. There was an article in England and London today that the British economy is actually looking at an £85 billion black hole of just lost productivity through illness and burnout and wellness. So there's tangible numbers around this on both GDP scale and obviously from an organizational budget piece. And listening to all 3 of you and the amazing content that you have and the advice you have and the toolkits, from my perspective, it's amazing to see over the past 10, 12 years where well-being's gone from, hey, here's a gym membership and a fruit bowl in the office, to the level of sophistication and science behind it, and the actual understanding and the well-being strategies that are being deployed internally with organizations big and small. But yet we're seeing all these stats around burnout crisis, we're struggling, lack of energy. So what I'm going to ask you, and we don't need to go political or philosophical, but if you want to, you can do. why? Why, if we're understanding it more and we have amazing people like yourselves going into organizations, and organizations apparently understand it more because they're delivering better strategy around it, why are we seeing this crisis? What are we just too demanding?
I can answer.
Go for Lisa first.
I'll jump in. Well, part of it is, yes, there's great well-being programs, but in some cases, not in all cases, organizations don't allow the employees the time to utilize the services. But that's not all employees by far. So, part of it too is they have to make habits of this. And Laura talked about this, which is so important. You can provide the best modalities available. You could do training, but unless the team members actually create lasting, sustainable habits and actually create that behavior change, it's not going to stick. And the organizations like Positive Foundry that do that beautifully are the ones who succeed. And that's what everybody needs to take into account, is that you have to build it into the culture within the organization.
Thank you. Janice, do you have a comment on that at all?
Yes, I'll add to what Lisa said. It is sad that in the literature, as Laura pointed out, and with Lisa's mental fitness, which was fascinating, there's so much literature on LinkedIn every day. There's many articles and posts, and yet some CEOs are not listening. And so I think we have to put it in terms of ROI, which Laura touched on. We have to put it into ROI and remind them that to, number one, look at their attrition. How many people are quitting every day, week, month, year? What are we doing? Some CEOs are very old school and think, well, we have to be stoic. I grew up like that too. You have to be stoic and you have to push ahead. But one CEO told me, after our last heavy season, my best person quit. And he said, I'm so burned out, I'm shaking. I'm going to go buy a farm in Montana and sit and stare at the trees. Yeah. We have to realize that burnout is causing these mental and emotional breakdowns, so to speak. And when people burn out, they have to go on disability, what we call in America. They have to leave for 3, 6, 9 months. And in America, there's a rule: if someone's on disability, you have to hold their job. So it's a huge loss of to the bottom line.
Yeah. Thank you. And Laura, back to you.
Yeah, I echo what these amazing women said as well. And I just think it's interesting. It's like preventative care versus healthcare. When it's this idea that are we waiting until it's too late? Because we can't necessarily say what the ROI is up front. We know the pain when we hit that wall, but how do we prove in the front end that investing in people, giving people time? I mean, taking a mindful moment at the start of a meeting. There are mindful organizations that have guidelines for, if you're having an hour meeting, you spend 3 minutes centering yourselves before you have the meeting. And they see the results of that from performance, but you can't necessarily convince someone of that saying, we don't have time for that. We got a quick meeting and we don't even have enough time to say everything we want to say in this meeting. So I think it's a really difficult conundrum of prevention and thinking ahead versus waiting until it's too late. And for the sake of all of our people that are working really hard in workplaces, I really hope more organizations get on the well-being bandwagon. I mean, the science is there, the research is there.
I love the prevention rather than the cure, and I think that speaks to what you're saying, the CEO language. You can spend X when it's already hit the fan, proverbial, or you can spend less now doing the right thing to prevent the problems down the pipe. And I think that's a really great way of phrasing it, especially for the people who are making the decisions. Just a couple of quick other ones. I think they've got something from the audience too. But it's quite funny you mentioned stoic there, Janice, because I smiled because I'm actually reading the Stoic philosophers, and that Stoic is different to the Stoic in the way you used it, which I learned only a few days ago. And you said we can choose how we can react, and that's all. A lot of what I'm reading there is we can choose to let go of control, and how we react to all we can do is control what we can control in that sense. So I felt that was very, very timely when I was reading that, and I'd love to dig into more to that. But I'm going to flick to Lisa and go, what's the worst saboteur in your opinion on the left-hand side of the brain?
Well, the overarching is the judge, because the judge orchestrates the other saboteurs. But it's a personal thing. I mean, we have all of those saboteur traits, and I do a 90-minute keynote on this. So, man, I just plowed through it super fast. But we all have them, and they materialize at just the most interesting times sometimes. But we usually have 3 that rise to the occasion. And the ones that really cause burnout, the hyperachiever is at the top. The stickler is at the top. The controller is at the top as well. And those are not that the other ones can't result in burnout either, but those can be some of the top ones that lead to burnout.
So I'm going to do something different now. We've got some great, nice words in from the audience. It's truly exciting and inspired to be part of this amazing team. Thank you very much for the nice presentation. So, yeah, thank you very much. Do you have a question for each other on what you heard from each other at all? We've got 3 minutes left, and if not, do you have a closing comment you would like to make to the world? So I'll start with Janice this time. Do you want to have a closing comment or question for the team?
Well, it's both. It's both. And, thinking on my feet like this, there's learning, and then there's doing. And there's in fact, I think there's a book called The Learning Doing Gap. And I think Laura, well, we've all touched upon it, but Laura's group really takes the learning and put it into practice. And I'm launching something new also called Banish Burnout Academy, where we take the tools from the book, we learn them, and then we role play and we practice them, and we come back, because repetition is how you build new habits.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. And thank you so much again for being part of today. Lisa, over to you. Do you have a final thought, so to speak?
Yes. So my final thought would be, I quickly went over the PQ reps, but it's so important to start your day with a positive mental charge, because when you have that positive mindset first thing in the morning, it makes it so much easier to navigate challenges as they surface throughout the day. So again, those tasks that we normally do, or those routines that we do first thing in the morning, attach those PQ reps to that and attach them throughout the day as well. Again, the sound, or when you're washing your hands, or I have had clients every time they turn a doorknob, it's whatever resonates with you. And they seem sometimes silly, but they actually work, because they mitigate all that negative mind trash that we can just allow us to, overwhelm us. So that would be my challenge.
Thank you so much. And I don't know whether it sits within that, so please don't let me I apologize, right? I get up and I've read Mel Robbins recently. I discovered her recently, and I do the most ridiculous thing. It feels like I high five myself in the mirror every morning.
I love it.
It looks ridiculous. It feels ridiculous, but from looking in the mirror and going, God, what an awful day ahead of you, and going, well done, you're awesome. It seems ridiculous, but it flips the mindset absolutely perfectly at the beginning of the day. And I notice when I forget to do it, and when I do it, very, very different attitude to the day. So thank you so much for everything you've taught us today. And Laura, over to you. Oh, Wi-Fi. We're back. Laura.
I think I'm back.
Yeah, you're back.
I love the high five habit. Thank you, Mel Robbins. Love it. I like to walk away from everything learning something. So I'm going to walk away with stop, so hum. Thank you, Lisa. I will remember that. Janet, I'm walking away with let me check my schedule I might be able to do that. Let me check my schedule. So thank you both. You are both amazing. And the only thing I would like to leave with is if there are people leaders on here, I just want to encourage you to, echoing what all of us said today, take care of yourself first and model the way for others. The greatest thing a leader can do is to show other people that they're taking time to take care of themselves, because they give permission for other people to take care of themselves as well. And we need more of that in the workplace. So that's what I would like to leave with.
Thank you so much.
Heart to you all.
Thank you. Thank you all. So thank you to our storytellers. I'm going to wrap it up because we're trying to stick to the hour, and we'll be sharing all your information and everything. So thank you so much. I also just want to add that I totally agree with Laura's last point, and the fact that I'm a very bad example of how to model it. I will let the whole world know that one of our team is unwell and not working today. So I've given her permission to, because I'm modeling very, very bad behavior by being here. So thank you, all three of you. And we will be back with another Power Hour. We have our last Power Hour of the year in early December on future trends. We have Friday, Thursday coming up with the amazing Laura next week, with 2 more of them. And lots more besides. Inspiring Leaders is announced tomorrow. So anyway, thank you from all of us, and see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.